No San Francisco treat for the New England Patriots on Sunday. In fact, the real pain may have only just begun. Stick around. You're about to be locked into this special edition of the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful, and thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage, and hopefully your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On Patriots is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, download, follow wherever you get your podcasts to ensure you're getting the latest episode as soon as it's available. I'm your host, Mike Debate. I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country of Athlon Sports. So reach out to me. Let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATENFL. While you're out there showing some love to Locked On Patriots social media style, please follow our account there as well at LO_Patriots. And Patriots fans, even I can't sugarcoat this one. Your New England Patriots simply could not compete out there in Week 4 on Sunday, and an end to the pain doesn't seem to be on the horizon. San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy threw a touchdown pass. Linebacker Fred Warner returned an interception for a score, and the San Francisco 49ers snapped a 2-game skid by beating your beloved New England Patriots 30-13 at Levi Stadium on Sunday in Santa Clara, California. For the Patriots, it's their third straight loss, and the frustration continues to mount for your favorite team in Foxborough. New England's starting quarterback, at least for now, Jacoby Brissett completed 19 of 32 passes for 168 yards against the San Francisco defense. He did toss one touchdown to begin the second half to tight end Austin Hooper, but he also threw a pick six, and one that really broke the Pats' backs in the first half. Jacoby was trying to find wide receiver Tyquan Thornton over the short middle. That pass was intercepted by Fred Warner, who made an incredibly great play on the ball. Can't say enough about how athletic Warner looked on that grab. Looked like Jacoby just lost sight of him, but you really need to give a lot of credit to Warner for making that play. He takes it back 45 yards for the touchdown, and New England simply could not rally. A 20-0 deficit at one point, and overall, Jacoby was sacked 6 times and under pressure on 53.8% of his dropbacks. 2.5 sacks went to Kevin Givens, 1.5 went to Malik Collins, and then, of course, folks, there is Nick Bosa, who needs no introduction, but you got to give him one anyway. He had been around both Jacoby and the football pretty much all afternoon, ended up beating his one-on-one to get his teammate Evan Anderson in the sack column, but Bosa was not to be denied. He then stripped the ball out for a sack of his own with 2 minutes and 44 seconds left to go, putting the exclamation point on what can only be described as a dismal day for the Pats in Santa Clara. Bosa finished the game with 5 tackles, 1 sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And let's face it, he just completely dominated starting left tackle Demontre Jacobs, who at this point was making his first NFL start, getting his first NFL snaps, and was the Patriots' 4th starting left tackle in as many games. As they say, perhaps way too often in this profession, that is not ideal. Yeah, it just gives you an indication as to how dismal things looked in the first half for your New England Patriots. And if you're active on social media, you know those questions are starting to really heat up. Everyone is wondering, is it time to finally go to the rookie Drake May? Well, that's going to be the billion-dollar question of the week. I don't think there's any doubt about that. To be honest, folks, there really is no easy answer. And as the Godfather himself, Don Vito Corleone, would say, I'm going to give you my reasons. Well, reason one would be that Drake May appears to be ready to get the ball. Last week, the buzz around Drake was that the Patriots were impressed by how he looked behind the scenes. He's been getting about 30% of the first team reps in practice. He's also running the scout team. That's a pretty good indication that he's getting a double education, especially when it comes to practices. His teammates, his assistant coaches, everyone's singing his praises in those reps. And when my colleagues and I in the media had a chance to talk to the assistant coaches last week, They mentioned that they're watching the practice tape. They're marveling at this kid's throws. His teammates are chatting about how well he reads, how well he manipulates the coverage. All of this right now is pointing toward Drake May being ready to get the start. But Coach Gerard Mayo, after the game, said that the team is still committed to Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback for now. Stress for now because these things have a tendency to change in the blink of an eye. But Alex Van Pelt said something similar earlier this week. We even heard a report earlier in the day from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport that Drake may be a ways away from getting the start, or at least getting meaningful reps in a Patriots uniform. I think it's going to be interesting to see if things change this week. The Patriots know they need a spark. And to be very honest with you folks, I can't see a better way to get them one than starting Drake against the Miami Dolphins this coming week in Week 5. But before you think that Drake May is going to cure all of the Patriots' problems, I do want to at least play devil's advocate here and remind all of you out there that this supporting cast of Patriots that are surrounding Drake May, especially on offense, is just as problematic as Jacoby Brissett's quarterback play lately. Maybe even more. Patriots receivers are not getting regular separation. They're getting open from time to time, but not on a regular, consistent basis. Not enough for a veteran quarterback, certainly not enough for a rookie quarterback. To be honest with you, they're not even getting sufficient space against man coverage. They're seldom getting open deep, and that could be a problem, especially for a young signal caller and a young passer like Drake May, who's going to have to feed off of veteran teammates' solid contributions that allow him to be the type of quarterback he can be. We all know about. Then there's the running game, which started out very well, but this was not the best day for the Patriots runners. Rhamondre Stevenson, 13 carries, 43 yards. If I'm being honest, I expected a little more out of the Patriots runners, especially since San Francisco was allowing 4.5 yards per carry, but Stevenson struggled. He was stuffed on a 4th and 1. He had a carry where he had a loss of 7 yards. And then, of course, he fumbled again. And as much as I love Rhamondre, you cannot fumble the ball 4 times in as many games and be the foundation of your offense. It simply doesn't work that way, especially when Alex Van Pelt's style is so predicated on a strong running game to facilitate play action. We have not seen nearly enough of that, and this area of the Patriots offense struggled again on Sunday. But for as much as the passing game and the running game have struggled, the offensive line continues to be the Achilles heel of this team. As we said earlier, they're allowing pressure on more than 50% of Jacoby Brissett's dropbacks. They're also allowing, on average, 10 quarterback hits per game. That is a lot of pressure to put on any quarterback, and it will be a lot for Drake May to overcome. As talented as he is, that's a lot of pressure to put on the kid, literally and figuratively. Look, I want to see Drake out there as much as all of you do, and I agree that his off-script, elusive style, that can help to mitigate some of the line's issues. If you're making plays on the run or you're trying to mask some of what the offensive line isn't doing well, a young, athletic, courageous, dare I say even fearless quarterback at times could be just the medicine that the Patriots offensive line needs. But when you take a level-headed look at things, this offense has more problems to fix than just Jacoby Brissett's quarterback play. It's the offensive line. It's the running game. It's the pass catchers. All of those are contributing to an anemic output on offense. And if you're going to put Drake May into that mix, you run the risk of derailing this kid's progress. It's not just about his confidence. I hear that an awful lot. Patriots fans are saying, you can't sugarcoat this kid. You can't keep him in bubble wrap. It's not all about protecting his confidence. There's a portion of it that is. But at the end of the day, the strides that he's making in becoming an NFL quarterback are simply too important to put him out there against a porous offensive line and a lot of question marks at all of the skill position players. So as Aerosmith would say, the same old story, the same old song and dance when it comes to the New England Patriots offense. But Pat's defense had problems of their own, especially in the first half where they really had difficulty putting pressure on Brock Purdy. They're lacking some explosiveness, some fire, and that comes from missing arguably your top 3 dynamic players in Matthew Judon, who now, of course, is in Atlanta, and then, of course, losing Christian Barmore and Juwan Bentley to injuries. In the second half, the Patriots did up their game a little bit, and they deserve some credit for that. The Patriots only allowed 10 second half points. They forced a field goal, 2 punts, and an interception. So you can make the argument that the defense did their part to try to get themselves back into the game in the second half. Ultimately, it was the first half breakdown that really doomed this team, especially on defense. The Pats were too slow in coverage, and there wasn't enough of a consistent pass rush that simply will not get the job done. So the Pats need to go back to the drawing board here over the course of the next couple of days, with division rival Miami Dolphins coming into town on Sunday in a Week 5 matchup that all of a sudden could be make or break for your New England Patriots. But to do that, they're going to have to turn the page from a not so pretty day in the Bay Area this weekend. But believe it or not, folks, the play on the field may not be the worst thing to have happened to your Patriots on Sunday. 3 Pats mainstays left the game with injuries, and they did not return. Could the Pats roster be even further decimated? I'll provide the latest on the Patriots' injuries, and as you know, and as I like to do, we are going to end this one on a high note. And contrary to popular belief, there was actually a high note in Week 4. Actually, there were a couple, and we'll get to those and more when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place your first $5 bet. So if you're feeling pretty good about the chances of your favorite New England sports team, you can test your intuition and make the most of it with FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Locked On Patriots listeners, we've all been there. You want tickets, but you're not quite sure how to get them. Well, don't spend another minute worrying about it, because Gametime has you covered with a new feature called Gametime Picks. That makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. In fact, Gametime Picks filters out all of the fluff to show you only the most incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets for events like sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. And don't forget to turn on Gametime's all-in pricing, because toggling this feature shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. And with the Gametime ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, so again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on this special edition Pats Niners recap episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast. And hopefully you're making us your first listen today. If so, a major tip of the cap and a thank you to all of you everydayers that continue to make Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. Folks, if you've made us your first listen, please, I implore you, make your second listen our good friends over at Locked On NFL. All the major stories all across the NFL landscape, brought to you by a network of analysts with the analysis you can find only here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Much like Locked On Patriots, Locked On NFL is also a proud part of that Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And folks, things are not looking pretty for your team, your favorite team in Foxborough, as they continue to lick their wounds from a 30-13 Week 4 loss to the San Francisco 49ers, dropping the Patriots to 1-3 on the season, and more questions than they have answers for. But the bad news on the injury front continues to mount for your New England Patriots, because 3, yeah, that's right, count them, 3 key players for the Pats ended up leaving Sunday's game and did not return. And we start with maybe the most important of all of these injuries, and that is center David Andrews. He left the game early in the first quarter. He was on the field for all of the snaps of the Patriots opening series, but then shortly after was spotted walking to the locker room, The team later announced that he had suffered a shoulder injury. Nick Leverett went into the lineup to replace him. David did not return. After the game, when asked, head coach Gerard Mayo did not have an update on David Andrews. Folks, I cannot stress enough how important David Andrews is to this offensive line. He's the guy that makes it go. He's the team captain. He's the one everyone looks for an emotional lift, a spiritual lift, a lift on the field. And much like Juwan Bentley on defense, he's the guy calling the shots on that offense. He knows everything that's happening, and he's such an important part of what this team does well. Hopefully, we'll see David out there sooner rather than later, but this is one to monitor, including on Monday. So stay locked into Locked On Patriots because we'll bring you the very latest on David as soon as more is made available. But David Andrews was not the only injured player on the New England Patriots that would leave the game on Sunday ne'er to return, because safety Kyle Duggar would leave the game in the second quarter. Kyle had his ankle checked out on the sidelines, but eventually had to be carted to the locker room. Pat's trying to replace what Kyle did with two players out there. Jalen Hawkins and Del Pettis came in to help Jabril Peppers. Much like David Andrews, Kyle is a key part of that defense. The green dot was being worn by Kyle Duggar. Jabril Peppers ended up taking that in his absence. And Kyle's an Iron Man. He's a guy that's always out there for every snap. He had been on the field for all of the 194 defensive snaps over the first 3 weeks of the season. We have no official word on what this means for Kyle moving forward, but folks, I hate to say this, but it's not looking good. Chris Price of the Boston Globe reporting after the game that he left the locker room while wearing a walking boot on his right foot. So if that is indeed the case, it's looking likely that Kyle may at least miss some time, hopefully minimal, but some time. A lot of that's going to depend on this week. Of course, we will update you on Kyle's condition as well right here on Locked On Patriots as soon as more information is made available. But it wasn't over yet, folks. No, because Patriots rookie left tackle Caden Wallace suffered an ankle injury on an unsuccessful fourth down play in the second quarter. He had to be carted to the locker room after exiting the field with help from two of his teammates. Caden had not only been playing a key role on the left side of the offensive line, but he had been playing a major role as a backup and a blocking tight end in those jumbo packages. Caden, one of the more athletic guys on the team, and I know the Patriots have high hopes for him. This is one that could end up hurting the Pats as well. Much like Kyle Duggar, it's not looking good in terms of him making an immediate return to the field. Mark Daniels of Mass Live also reported that a boot and crutches were there for Wallace in the locker room, and afterwards he was seen wearing that walking boot. So Pats fans, as more information becomes available on all three of these injuries, we'll continue to update you right here on the Locked On Patriots podcast. Make sure to tune into Monday's show and each and every show this week, as we'll be monitoring the health of all three of these players, David Andrews, Kyle Duggar, and Caden Wallace, and also bring you the very latest on the quarterback situation for the Pats, as well as their preparations for the Miami Dolphins in Week 5. But, folks, before we adjourn for this one and give way to a full week of Patriots coverage coming up here on Locked On, you know I always like to end on a high note, and there weren't many of them on the field on Sunday, but there were a couple. And I do want to give an honorable mention, and then, of course, the Player of the Game award. So let's start with the honorable mention, and that goes to linebacker Christian Ellis, who both forced and recovered a fumble on the second half kickoff to give the Patriots a first down at the 49ers' 27-yard line. That forced and recovered fumble helped the Patriots to their first touchdown on a 5-yard pass from Jacoby Brissett to tight end Austin Hooper. It was Ellis's first career forced fumble in recovery, and it was Austin Hooper's first touchdown with the New England Patriots. So a couple of firsts there for Christian Ellis and for Austin Hooper, a tip of the cap and an honorable mention for arguably the game's only offensive highlight. However, it wasn't their only point-scoring highlight. And for the benefit of those of you that weren't able to watch on Sunday, my Player of the Game award goes to kicker Joey Sly, who returned back home to Levi Stadium in San Francisco and set a Patriots team record with a 63-yard field goal at the end of the second quarter. The previous record was a 62-yard field goal held by Steven Gostowski, making that kick in Mexico City against the Oakland Raiders back in November of 2017. And not only was it a Patriots record, but it was also Joey's career high. His previous best had come on a 61-yard field goal against the Philadelphia Eagles in October 2023, and he was playing for Washington at the time. And I want to give a tip of the cap to the Patriots press team for pointing this one out, something I did not know prior to today. Stephen Gostkowski and Joey Sly, the only Patriots to ever kick a successful 60-yard field goal. And the Patriots have had some impressive kickers over the years, one of which I believe will earn induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that's Adam Vinatieri. But Gostkowski and Sly, the only ones to ever kick a successful 60-yard field goal. And for those of you scoring this on a national level, Sly's field goal is tied for the fourth longest in NFL history. And of course, that longest field goal came in 2021. Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens set that one against the Detroit Lions, a 66-yarder, September of 2021. Yeah, that may stand for quite a while. But Joey Sly, one of the few bright spots on Sunday, and he is my Week 4 player of the game. And while the outcome certainly wasn't what we were all hoping for in New England, I do want to impress upon you that there is still a lot to learn about these Patriots, and there's still a lot to like about the talent on this team. Some of the young receivers just need the opportunity to break out. Jalen Polk had an impressive catch, which I do believe was a catch, by the way, that could have made this one a little more interesting than it ended up being. Of course, we're all awaiting the debut of Drake May. Will Rhamondre Stevenson round back into form? And as reported by ESPN's Mike Reese earlier in the day on Sunday, receiver Kendrick Bourne is expected to return to practice for the Patriots this week. What kind of impact will that have on the Patriots' receiving game and the offense as a whole? All of these questions and more will be tackled on Locked On Patriots this week, so download, subscribe, and follow. You will not want to miss a single second of the action. In the meantime, I'm Mike DeBate, and I thank all of you everydayers, all of you casual listeners, and anyone joining us for the first time for taking time out of your day and making us a part of your New England Patriots coverage. And I remind you all to stay safe, to stay well, and to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back again here real soon on Locked On Patriots.